Craig Muter from the Baseball Hall of Fame on the line right now. Good morning, Craig.
Mr. Keeler, how are you?
Good to hear from you, sir. And listen, of course, last week we didn't get to you, but the announcement of the class of 2017.
Absolutely. Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, and Yvonne Rodriguez. And this now means that there are 12 people who've been elected by the BBWAA, the writers, in the last 4 years. The last time that happened was 1936 to 1939, the first four classes. So can you draw from that this might be the golden age of baseball?
Yeah.
I think you can make that argument. If these guys are all going in and the standards are the same, then this is we're living through now what might be the best era ever.
That's really cool. I love hearing that because oftentimes I always hear, wow, baseball is not that national sport that it used to be in America. And listen, for me, it certainly is. And you look in the stadiums, it certainly looks like it is. You look at the Hall of Fame, it certainly looks like it is.
73 million people at MLB games last year, another 41 million at minor league games. Don't tell me it's not the national pastime.
Yeah. All right, and then what we were interested in also is that there is a change to the way the writers are going to be voting now. Can you explain what's going to happen?
Well, the writers have announced that they want to make all their ballots public starting next year. So now about 3/4 or so of the writers make their ballots public, and they do so either before or after the election. It just depends on what the individual writer wants to do. But the PBWA wants to have it make all of them public, make it a rule. If that's the case, then we may see then 100% guy elected. I mean, who's not going to vote for Mariano Rivera?
Right.
If you have to make your ballot public, are you really not going to vote for the greatest closer of all time in 2019? Probably not. So it could change the pattern a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll really change the non-people who are being elected, but I do think we could see 100% guy for the first time.
All right.
Craig, explain how this works. It's Baseball Writers Association of America. How do you get a vote, and is it possible that the baseball writers, if there's a panel or a council, could come back and say, you didn't vote for Rivera. We're taking away your license or your credential, whatever it might be. How does that process work? How do you become, and can you be kicked off the committee that elects?
So how you become a Hall of Fame voter is, first of all, you have to join the BBWAA, which is an organization that supports rights of the writers, basically. That came into being around 1908 when the writers were getting thrown out of the World Series, and so they organized, basically. So when you start covering MLB games for an outlet, a paper or a website or whatever, most of them join the BBWAA. After 10 years where you've been in and you paid your dues paid number for 10 years,
Yep.
If you're in good standing, then you get the Hall of Fame vote. So you got to be in 10 years, and it's a reward basically for doing a good job.
Yeah.
Now, as far as being thrown off, yes, the BBWA has the right to say we take away your Hall of Fame vote, and this happened a couple years ago. If you remember, when Dan Le Batard basically gave his vote or sold his vote to a website who then voted for him. And the BBWA said, no, you can't do that. That's pretty unethical, and they took away his vote.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen.
And then just finally, I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm sorry. Do you know how many votes there are? How many writers get to vote? I'm sure that number grows every year.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, it has been reduced the last few years because our board of directors has said it used to be if you had the vote, you had it forever. You could keep voting forever as long as you were alive. Now, our board of directors has changed that a little bit and said you have to have covered baseball regularly within the past 10 years. If you haven't done that, then you slowly, it's basically a sunset rule. You slowly lose your vote after a period of time. So there are about 460 people who were eligible this year, and about 440 voted, about 99%. It's a very high percentage of people who are eligible who do cast their ballot.
All right.
Interesting.
Two things. By the way, JoJo in Rome says, hello, you guys used to ref high school football together.
JoJo! My buddy.
Good man. He's a good man. Lock it up. And I want to get a reinstitute institute a little bit of a debate we had going here earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week when we were talking about having you on, and that is over closers being elected into the Hall of Fame, somebody like Rivera, or designated hitters. And now, pitching really, the game has changed. And I mean, it used to be more pitchers went the distance. Now you've got middle relief. Sometimes you're looking at 4 and 5 pitchers in a game. So what is your... How do you judge, and how is it that a closer? There was a debate. Should a closer get in? And obviously, you think so.
As a fan, I can't see how you can not acknowledge the work closers do. And all you have to do is look at the postseason this last year. Andrew Miller and Cody Allen and a row to 7. Those are the guys who really won or lost the game for those teams. You can't win now without a dominant closer. So I don't see how you can't say that a closer is part of it. And furthermore, when you talk about Mariano, I don't see how you can't say this guy is the best that ever was at what he did. It's very difficult to say at most positions, oh, this is the best guy ever. At catcher, you can say Ivan Rodriguez, you can say Johnny Bench, you can say Yogi Berra. There's a lot of arguments. At closer, find me a different one than Mariano. He's the best that ever was. And it's coming in 2 years.
All right, and correct me if I'm wrong. It was you, Manaski, that were arguing against the closer coming in.
Well, I think
and against Rivera.
Oh, look at he's
no,
doing
I think Rivera is
a
Hall of Famer. I think Rivera is the best to ever do it. I just think it opens a can of worms. I would agree that many middle relievers for the Mets have lost us plenty of games over the past few years. I would certainly agree there, but I just think when it becomes there's an evolution in that position, and it used to be the closer would pitch your 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then before that, I'm sure it was your 8th and 9th. Then it was 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then it became now it's just a 9th inning specialty spot. I mean, could we ever see a designated hitter, a guy who was a great DH who came off the bench, pinch hitter, I should say, a pinch hitter being elected to the Hall of Fame? Maybe he wins you a few games in the playoffs.
And with that, I'll ask, can you name somebody that? But usually, I think it's usually somebody who was a great player and is now towards the end of his career and ends up becoming DH. But correct us if we're wrong here on this, Craig.
Can you name me the guy who has the most pinch hits of all time?
Tell
me who that guy is. Can you tell me?
Yeah, I can. It's former Met Lenny.
Even if you don't get the last name, I applaud. That is awesome. Lenny Harris, that is right. But still, is that a Hall of Famer?
No.
Probably not. Now, Can you imagine the game changing? Sure, the game changes all the time, and that's what closers have done. Sure, you're not pitching 3 innings to the closer like Goose Gossage did. You're pitching 1 inning now. But it's still difficult to argue that these guys who are at the top level, top 1%, are not Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I would not object to Rivera being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
No.
And if we go down to 2020 when Jeter is going to be eligible. It will be interesting to see who votes, because we always look every year. There's like 1 or 2 votes against somebody that is just a shoe-in. These guys could then be. It's not just what the Writers Association could do, but it's also what the public could do in terms of shaming these guys into saying, "Okay, I can't do it because they're going to know who I am. I can't vote no because they're going to know who I am."
Absolutely. That could have an effect. Now, they could come out and say, well, there's only 10 spots in the ballot, and I wanted to use it for somebody else, and I knew Jeter was going to get in, so therefore I'd use it that way.
Okay.
If you make that argument, I think people will say, well, I may not like it, but I can see it.
Yeah.
But if you argue against Derek Jeter, I think you're going to be in the vast minority.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, all right, listen, it just warms my heart to be talking baseball in January. I love it.
The beauty of being in Cooperstown and the Mohawk Valley, we can talk about it all year long. I'm psyched already for 2017.
You are right. Craig Muter, Baseball Hall of Fame. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. He is a good guy and has the job of his life. It's he's got the perfect job. There's no doubt.